I covered NASA and the space program for about 50 years, beginning with Apollo 17. We're going to tell you the Apollo 17 story and how it was. Apollo 17 was the last time that we went to the moon. It was in December of 1972. And we're going to tell you that story. We're going to tell it another time. Today, what we're going to talk about will be the Space Shuttle. I covered a lot of Space Shuttle launches, including the first operational Space Shuttle launch and return to the Earth. And it was the fourth time that they had launched the shuttle. I think fourth time with people. It was called the first operational mission, and it was in those days. It was still landing back at Edwards Air Force Base, and to get my credentials, Edwards Air Force Base is up by Palmdale. It's up north of Los Angeles. It's up on the high desert, and it's basically a dry lake bed. And you can draw all kinds of little lines there for a runway, actually, but really didn't matter where they landed, and they had plenty of room. If they missed their landing, they'd be okay. Not true. Once they perfected that, then they mostly thereafter, with one exception, well, not one exception, would land back at Kennedy on the runway there, the SLF Shuttle Landing Facility, I think they call it, down in Florida. And they landed once in New Mexico, and when they said about that one, they never went back to, I think it was White Sands where they landed at, and but they thought they'd never get the sand out of the shuttle. They had so much sand in it. And they would land the shuttle back at Edwards when they wanted to haul it down to Palmdale and do some refurbishment work or something on it. The shuttles were all built at Palmdale, and there were 5 shuttles built. They lost 2 of them over the course of the thing. So anyway, to get your credentials, pick them up for this first operational mission. There were, as I recall, 2,200 journalists were accredited for it, and you'd go out up to Antelope Valley Inn, and in the middle of the night, and they were there all night in this little motel, white spot in the road in those days, and pick up your credentials, and then you had a long drive on up to Edwards and through the gate, and then way out, and until you finally came out to the place where the shuttle was going to land. And they had a little rope. The thing that we were going to stand by the rope and wait for the shuttle to come home. It was stone cold and dark up there, and tick 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 tick, but they had big broadcast speakers, so you could hear what was happening, and so as I recall, it was about dawn when it came. It seemed it was still dark, but anyway, here they came. And they came in down south of us over Los Angeles, and you'd hear 2 sonic booms. I forget why. But I was at the rope line, and so the shuttle's coming probably over the Pacific, and getting ready to come in. And I remember I walked over. CBS was feeding everybody that morning, giving coffee, Danish, whatever. I mean, it was huge. It was gala. It was really a really exciting, happy day. Because, this is the first time we're going to do it. And I walked over to get a coffee, and by the time I got the coffee, boom, boom, and the shuttle was here. And I was down, and so he's down waiting for it to come, and whoom, right? That was it. It's down, it's safe. And then it takes a period of time because there are these noxious fumes, so they have to get all manner of safety equipment around it to get that and so forth and so on. And then it became just this day-long block party of happiness back at Edwards, and kind of just an unforgettably wonderful day, because in those days and at that time, NASA was saying and telling us that they were going to be an on-time airline. They were going to be launching every month, and could handle all the satellites, and were going to be a real provider. And of course, it didn't work out that way for several reasons. One is that the shuttle was a lot more complex, and very complex piece of equipment, marvelously genius, but complex, and it took a lot of work to get it ready to go again. And there were, of course, other reasons, but this pressure to launch, of course, led to tragedy with the shuttle, with the I think it was the 25th mission where they launched Challenger on a very cold morning and shouldn't have. Anyway, I continue to cover the shuttle launches and landings. And I remember about the 8th or 9th landing out at Edwards, there were 4 of us, 4 members of the press. Republicans lost interest. Everybody's gone. No more free coffee, no more free food from CBS, nobody. And finding the landing area out at Edwards on the 8th or 9th mission, whichever one, was very difficult to do. And we were a very small contingent by that time. And then after tragedy with the Challenger, everybody's back, and had an awful lot of press back at that time. So we'll talk about the shuttle program some more. We'll tell the story at some point. We'll tell the story of that equally magical final night, early morning, actually, that we went to the moon on Apollo 17. And at that time, by the way, I think there was Apollo 18, 19, 20, 21, and we had, NASA, the U.S. government had the hardware to launch these additional 3 or 4 shuttle missions to the moon, but they did not have the willingness and wherewithal and so forth. And also we had Wernher von Braun in those days, who said, "I'll put you on Mars by the end of 1970s." And he had built the equipment and the storage and the vehicle assembly building half the size that he said he'd need to get us to Mars. And but it never happened. And of course, we're going to get to Mars, but we haven't gotten there yet. So we have other stories to tell on NASA, and we'll do it, but not right now.